Somewhere on Earth, tucked between two massive mountain peaks in a completely impassable landscape, sits a massive physical anomaly. The structure consists of a solid mass of iron reinforced with veins of cooled copper, standing in place of traditional stone or brick. This megastructure functions as a sealed prison. Behind it lies a destructive force, prophesied to one day sweep across the globe like a tsunami. This hidden blockade connects an ancient feat of human engineering directly to the literal end of the world. To understand how we know about this wall, we have to look back to ancient Mecca. During the early days of Islam, the Quraysh tribe was desperate to discredit Prophet Muhammad. They approached local Jewish scholars looking for an impossible test, a question so obscure that only a true prophet could answer it. The scholars gave them a highly specific trap. Ask him to identify a mysterious, unnamed king who had traveled to the farthest eastern and western edges of the earth. The answer came through divine revelation in a chapter of the Quran called Surah Al-Kahf. It introduced this enigmatic traveler by a title, Dhul-Qarnayn, which translates to the possessor of two horizons. History is full of autocrats who consolidated global power, rulers like Pharaoh or Nimrod, who eventually demanded to be worshipped as gods. Dhul-Qarnayn held total global dominance, immense wealth, and access to advanced logistics, yet he never claimed divinity. He viewed himself as a subordinate. His technological and military capabilities were tools meant to serve his creator, establishing a model of leadership where absolute earthly power submits to divine will. Dhul-Qarnayn's campaign began with a journey to the far west. He traveled until he watched the sun set over a dark, murky body of water. Here, he encountered a local civilization. Given total authority over them, he laid down a strict doctrine. He would punish only the oppressors and protect the righteous. He then marched to the far east, arriving at a location where the sun fiercely beat down on a primitive tribe with no shelter from the elements. A typical conqueror would have enslaved them. Instead, Dhul-Qarnayn assessed their vulnerability, showed them mercy, and moved his army forward without exploiting their weakness. By punishing the corrupt in the west and protecting the helpless in the east, he established a clear pattern. He used his military superiority to stabilize regions, setting the stage for the crisis waiting for him next. He took a third route, leading his forces into a landscape trapped between two towering, jagged peaks. It was a severe geographical bottleneck. The locals living near this pass lived in terror. They communicated that a hyper-violent faction known as Yajuj and Majuj was constantly pouring through the mountain gap to ravage their crops, livestock, and people before retreating back into the highlands. The locals offered to pay Dhul-Qarnayn a massive tribute to build a defensive barrier. He rejected the money, stating that the resources God had already given him were sufficient. Instead, he demanded their physical labor to execute the engineering project. The construction began with raw mass. He commanded the workers to gather massive plates of iron. They stacked these metallic blocks, filling the entirety of the gap from the valley floor to the summits of the two mountains. With the iron stacked, he ordered the workers to build enormous fires around the structure and stoke them with giant bellows. They heated the iron until the entire towering wall turned a glowing red. Then he moved to the final stage of the metallurgical process. He ordered his men to pour liquid, molten copper directly over the incandescent iron. The copper seeped into every crack and joint, fusing the blocks into a single, impenetrable alloy barrier. The raiders couldn't scale the slick copper face, nor could they chip through the dense composite material. By leveraging intense heat and chemical bonding, Dhul-Qarnayn had forged a permanent cage for these predators. Upon finishing the metal rampart, Dhul-Qarnayn claimed no personal glory. He instead declared the wall a mercy from his lord, warning that God would eventually reduce it to dust. According to authentic Islamic traditions, Yajuj and Majuj are still alive today, trapped behind that metal face. Every day they attempt to claw their way out. This diagram illustrates their supernatural cycle. They scrape at the metal all day until they can see the sunlight through the remaining sliver. Their leader tells them to stop, saying they will break through tomorrow. But overnight, the wall is suddenly restored to its full thickness, forcing them to start over the next morning. This loop repeats until the day of judgment draws near. Their leader will finally say, "Inshallah, if God wills it, we will break through tomorrow." Because of that phrase, they will return to find the hole exactly as they left it and finally breach the surface. Once unleashed, their numbers will blanket the earth. The prophecy states that as the first wave of their army passes Lake Tiberias, they will drink the entire body of water dry. By the time the back of their column arrives, they will remark that there used to be water in the empty basin. They will slaughter everything in their path. Prophet Isa, Jesus, and the remaining believers will be forced to barricade themselves on Mount Tur, completely outmatched. But God will answer the believers' prayers by sending a microscopic parasite that targets the horde's necks, killing them all in a single night. A microscopic organism will end the global invasion in a single night. This event demonstrates that physical might is powerless against divine will. We live in an era where technology and wealth make many believe they are untouchable. We build towering skyscrapers to secure a legacy. Dhul-Qarnayn had absolute global supremacy, yet he recognized that none of it belonged to him. Hidden somewhere in the world today, that face of iron and copper acts as a physical, ticking clock. It is a quiet, heavy reminder that earthly power is temporary and the promises of the end times are absolute.